Hey, this is Yazuki Wolf, and welcome to another episode of Benkyoukai. Today we're going to be continuing our study of Hiragana, and last time we went through the ta, chi, tsu, te, to. Let me repeat that one more time just as a quick review. Ta, chi, tsu, te, and to of the T column of the Hiragana. So this week we're going to push that over one and cover the na, ni, nu, ne, and no of the N column. And once again, we have the Katakana on the right side and the Hiragana on the left. We're going to be focusing primarily on the Hiragana in these Benkyokais, in these study sessions. But keep in mind that if you would like to review the na, ni, nu, ne, no on the Katakana side on your own, you're free to do that. We may go over the Katakana at the end of this series after we finish all the Hiragana, but I think we're going to be a lot more brief about the Katakana side because I feel like once you got the Hiragana, it's not too hard to add the Katakana on top of that. Alright, so starting from the top, we have na, which is written 1, 2, 3, and then 4. That didn't look the best, but something like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is our na. All right, and then for ni, we start from the left, going down, and now this, keeping in mind the roots of how this would work as a brush stroke. The brush stroke would kind of stop here, but it would kind of lift up here. And then moving in an upward direction, you then move to your second stroke, which is the stroke from left to right here. And now from here as a brush, you would imagine that you would kind of loop around this side and come around this way, and that would lead you to your final stroke right here. Sorry, something like that. And you can see right here how you kind of see how this is pointing up toward here. So you imagine that if this was a brush, the general way that your hand would be moving, it would be going top to bottom, and then you're moving up this way, and then you're moving around this way, just lifting up at these different intervals to leave these marks. So next we have nu, and this once again we start top to bottom with this stroke, and then you move up to the right hand side, and once again you're going top to bottom and looping around like so. So 1, 2. So it's only really 2 strokes. It's just it has a very long kind of curvy stroke at the end. And you'll see this is kind of similar to ah, if you remember, if we did that a while back. Like essentially, I think if you just add like a stroke here, it's almost ah, because you have 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry, but you don't have the little squirrely at the end, so it's 1, 2, 3 like that. So it's kind of similar to ah. All right, next we have ne. Ne, we have top to bottom. You have your first stroke, 1. And then second stroke, you kind of go here and then down, kind of like a Z. So you have sort of like a Z kind of stroke here that continues on. So it goes here and then down, and then it goes around like so. So that is actually all 1 stroke. This is only 2. The whole thing is only 2 strokes. 1 and then 2. Hopefully you can follow that fairly well. So this is stroke 1, and then stroke 2 is this whole thing right here. Okay, next we have no, and this is all just 1 stroke. It's pretty self-explanatory. Just start from sort of the middle area, go down and around like so. And now once again, if you study in Japan, they stress sort of the order in which you write things. If I was personally though, I wouldn't stress too much about it as long as you can make it look legible. So for example, na is supposed to be written 1, 2, 3, 4. You probably should practice it that way, but I mean, if you were to actually go like 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't think it's going to destroy your life. I mean, you can still get by like that, but it's just kind of generally better to know the way that it was originally written, so you know the way the kind of brush strokes would connect to each other. But yeah, anyways. Let's move on and look at some examples of words that you can create in Japanese using these and also all the other hiragana we've covered so far in these Benkyokais. Okay, so first off, we have na, ni. Nani. And you probably heard this a lot if you listen to like anime, if you watch anime and stuff. And here's the kanji over there just to kind of put in the back of your mind. Don't worry about having to memorize it right now. but this just means what. So you might have examples in anime where it would be like, you might hear things like "nani kore" or "kore wa nani," But keep in mind that "nani" is not something you hear as often because usually it would be connected to like another part, which turns the ni into just a n sound. So it would probably be like nan desu ka. Like you probably heard that nan desu ka is like what is it? And so the ni turns into just a n, and that's just it's this. But that's gonna be a future lesson. So we'll learn the un in a future lesson. But for now, just remember nani is the kind of the root of the word what, and just remember that there are different forms. It may take different forms. And same thing as we go down here, we have na ze. Keep in mind, once again, we have the 10-10 here, which turns the se sound into a z, so it becomes na ze. And na ze means why, and once again, this is one form of the word why, and it also comes in many other forms. Also, the other one was nande is another one you hear a lot, but that once again is using the n that we haven't covered in our lessons yet, so I'm going to skip that for right now. So next, na ze ka, and this is related to naze. It's just a very useful kind of word to that you'll see fairly often. The ka at the end, ka in Japanese generally works like a question mark. So nan desu ka, the ka at the end makes it into a question mark. Let's think of a simple example for that. For example, you might say something like kore wa. Forgive my mushy writing because I'm not really used to the pen in Photoshop as much as Clip Studio. But kore wa pen desu. So if you said kore wa pen desu, that means this is a pen. But if you were to add the ka at the end, and bear with me for those that are a little more advanced, I know this is like super basic, but I know that I'm starting at the beginning and we'll advance as we go along. So if you put the ka at the end, kore wa pen desu ka, the ka turns it into a question. So the first one, kore wa pen desu, is this is a pen. Kore wa pen desu ka turns into is this a pen? So it's like in English we switch the word order. In Japanese, the word order doesn't change so much, but to turn it into a question, it's just whether you're adding ka or there's some other ways you can also turn it into a question, but we'll get into that in the future. And so naze ka is turning the why into a question. And when you do that, usually it's used in the middle of a sentence, and it turns into like for some reason. Like there is a reason why, but we not. It's the reason why is still in question. So like 生まれた時からなぜか日本すごく好きでした。So 生まれた時から when I from the day I was born, なぜか like for some reason, I don't know why, but there's a reason. It's in question. 日本がすごく好きでした. I really liked Japan. So for some reason I really liked Japan since I was born. And that's a little too early. Maybe I should say 幼い頃から, like since I was very young, But you get the idea. And moving on, some more very simple words. That's the kanji. And then over here we have inu. Inu. So inu is a dog. So dog is inu. And you probably already have heard this before. Neko. It's a very popular word. Neko, which means cat. And so you'll hear those fairly often. Inu, neko. I think mostly neko. I hear like neko seems to be really popular. Like you have like neko panchi, which is a neko punch. I don't know, it's like some kind of weird action you see people do on the internet sometimes. Anyways, we continue on. And noru. This is more of like a practical word. Let me go word letter by letter. So we have no ru. So noru. Oh crap! I forgot. We haven't covered the rus yet, so I really can't use noru in this. I made a mistake. I was attempting to only use actual letters that we've covered in the lessons before, but ru we haven't actually covered. So I'm sorry. For this one word, just give me a pass. I'll try to make sure that there are only letters that we've covered in lessons in the future. This is going to be a future lesson. We're going to cover ru. For now, just remember that we'll just keep it. Just try to memorize the no more than the ru, I guess. So noru means ride. It's a verb to ride something. You'll hear it a lot living in Tokyo or in Japan in general if you're riding the train. So densha ni noru, it means to ride a train. And now let's go through some examples of sentences that I just prepared here. We have for nani, kore wa nani. So this is something you might hear a lot in casual Japanese. So keep in mind that this is not particularly polite. It's more of a casual way of speaking. And in general, it's maybe a little bit hard to understand right off the bat, but the roots of words, they're completely raw and unmodified. And what that ends up meaning is that they aren't polite, because to make things polite, you have to modify and add different like conjugations and stuff. So nani is not polite. It's a very casual way to speak, and you'll hear it mostly from children or people that are friends in in informal circumstances. So just keep that in mind, that you don't want to use this with people you don't know well. The more polite form is kore wa. So kore wa nan desu ka? And keep in mind, we haven't covered all of these things for these sentences, but just understand what you can understand, and anything you don't understand, we'll just put it in the back of your head until later. And so here, this is the kanji for what again, but in this case, where it's not being pronounced as nani, it's being pronounced as nan. And we'll cover nan in the future once we get to the n sound. But kore wa nan desu ka? That is the polite way of saying what is this. And kore wa nani is the informal, just using the roots of the words without any formalization. We'll get more into that once we actually start covering grammar in the future. Next we have naze, and once again, naze means why. So naze, and this is kanji here, but this is benkyou, which means to study. Naze benkyou shinakia ikenai no? And don't worry, we'll cover this stuff in future lessons. I'm just giving you examples of sentences you might hear. Naze benkyou shinakia ikenai no is, why do I have to study? And once again, this is informal. It's something that maybe a kid might ask their parents or something. So it's not a formal situation. And so like a more formalization of it might a more formal way of saying it might be something like we have written down below. We have nande benkyou shinakia ikenain desu ka? So the ikenain desu ka, just that makes it more formal. But at any rate, this is one case of using naze. Next, to give you an example of using cat and dog, inu and neko, and we're going to use naze again, we'll say neko to inu wa naze naka ga warui. And once again, this is an informal sentence, but we're saying neko, cats, and inu, dogs, wa, that's a particle, we'll get into that in the future, naze, why, naka ga warui means not get along, like they don't get along. So why don't cats and dogs get along, basically? All right. Last example, we have noru. Noru means to ride. So densha ni noru toki no mana o ki o tsukeru beki da. So densha ni noru toki no mana o ki o tsukeru beki da. So basically what this is saying is that you should pay attention to the manners for when you ride a train. So because in Japan, you'll find that there are kind of unwritten rules, and like I guess you could call them manners, about how you're supposed to behave in stations and on trains and stuff. And it's this very kind of polished system where if one person just doesn't know what they're doing, it kind of like clogs things up. So it's a good thing to kind of learn the proper manners for and it's not just so much about being polite. I think it's more about being efficient, because if you've been to Tokyo or seen pictures, you probably know that there's a lot of people using the trains, and if everyone's not kind of moving in the same sort of way, it'd be very easy for like things to get clogged up, or people not being able to get onto their train and just like bumping into each other. So there's a lot of like kind of manners in terms of not. I mean, it is about being polite, but for me, I found it's less about being polite and more about just being able to make sure that everything is run smoothly. And you'll find that a lot in Tokyo and in Japan, just like the way that there's all these kind of unwritten. They aren't like laws or whatnot. They're just kind of like these unwritten rules of, I guess you call manners, that everyone follows, and that allows society to function very smoothly. So, and it seems like every time you'll get into a situation where something's not moving smoothly, you can generally find someone who's not Japanese or just maybe it's a tourist or something that's kind of like throwing things off. So if you were to visit Japan, it might be a good idea to look into some of those manners, and I might do some videos in the future where I kind of break into them as well. Go ahead and practice some of these words on your own. If you don't understand all the sentences, don't worry. We will get into grammar and whatnot in the future. I'm just kind of giving you the immersion experience, getting right into how these words and how these letterings are used in actual Japanese, so that in the future you will not be intimidated and be able to just jump into any situation and handle what's going on. So anyways, that's all for this episode. Till next time, study hard and live boldly and be creative. じゃあね。